Hello, everyone. First of all, I just want to start this stream by encouraging everybody with a little chant. It goes a little something like this. Let's go Putin. Let's go Putin. I'm joking. Honestly, I'm joking. I don't take sides in this conflict. I have people in my chat that are like, go Ukraine, or on Twitter especially, go Ukraine, go Putin, go Russia, go Ukraine. I don't really care. Like, I'm an American, and I have absolutely no stake in this invasion in Ukraine. I will say this, in war, there are no good guys and no bad guys. And that's the reality of if you're really going to look at it from an objective standpoint, that's really the truth. And I will say this, for Putin to go as far as he went and to just offensively invade Ukraine, that was a bold move to say the least. And I think Ukraine will end up falling completely to Putin, to Russia. You already have troops encouraging whatever into Ukraine here, and they're approaching Kyiv right now. In fact, there's probably battles being fought right now in the streets of Kyiv. So all I can say is this. Pray for the people in Ukraine who are just innocent people who want nothing to do with this and just want to defend their homeland. And pray as few people as possible are hurt. As few innocent people are hurt or killed. That's all I can say. I just don't want to see the average Joe who is stuck in Kyiv, who is stuck in Kharkiv or any of these areas get killed or hurt. And in fact, I don't want to even see Russian soldiers get killed or hurt. I just hope as few people as possible get killed or hurt. I understand Ukrainians, especially in Western Ukraine, who were affected by the Soviet Union and just trampled upon by Stalin, by Lenin, and, people before that were Soviets, that were Russian essentially, and they have a hatred for Russians, and it's because of things like the Holodomor, which the Soviet Union obviously purposely starved half of Ukraine. It wasn't Ukraine at the time. It was part of the Soviet Union, and that's why half of Ukraine hates Russia. And then you have the eastern half of Ukraine, Donetsk and other regions that are very pro-Russia. They speak Russian. They have an affiliation more with the Russian people than with the Western Ukrainian people, So this is a true civil war almost, but now at least it was a civil war, and now you just have Russia coming in. They're like, look, we're just going to invade, and we're going to take over because at least half, if not more, of the Ukraine people do actually support Russia. So that is a fact. And I'm not going to get too much into that, but I do want to go over the media fakery and the war propaganda because that's a major thing going on right now on both sides, but especially what we're receiving, what we're getting the most of is the pro-NATO Russian propaganda, the pro sort of, Zelensky, NATO-backed sort of Ukraine propaganda. With all of these war stories that I find a lot of them really hard to believe. I think some of it is probably war propaganda, and that's understandable, but you also have lies and manipulation sort of coming from Putin, but it's just so funny to see some of what's going on with these lies from the media. You have Fox News here. Look at this. Fox News aired a clip of Ukrainian dudes with supposed AK-47s, and if you look closely, they're just cardboard guns. They're not even real. It was like a totally staged report where they're holding cardboard or wooden guns. Okay. And this is straight from Fox News clip. So let's just play the clip. I think it's at 6:44 here. They show these dudes with fake cardboard guns. It's like totally fake. So I'm not saying, obviously, that there's nobody dying in Ukraine. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the media is staging like propaganda in different ways to put out a message, to put out a narrative. And this is one of those situations. So check this out. Hold up. Let me see if this plays. All right. I don't know if y'all can see this.
Getting Russia, we are watching Russia. What are you watching there? There is nothing to watch.
There he is. Look at these dudes. Hold up. This is when it pauses, of course. But you can see these guys in the clip with their fake guns. And it's just really funny. I just want to know as well, how y'all doing today? I'm going to check the chat here. Thanks, Theta Investor, for the super chat, my friend. I probably got like 10 people unsubscribe when I did the Putin chant at the beginning as a joke. Nobody can take jokes anymore. I understand it's war. It's tough. I shouldn't be joking, I guess. But you know what? That's just who I am. Thanks again, Theta Investor. Yeah, I'll be taking super chats if you want to, ask a question or, just contribute. I mean, either way. Look, I had this guy in the chat before I even went live saying that I support Ukraine and he's unsubscribing. It's like, dude, it's like, fine, leave. I don't care. Bro, like, I don't care if you unsubscribe. Like, go for it. I'm not supporting any side. Like, I'm an American. What's this have to do with me? I don't care. I will say this, as an American, and maybe this is just something that runs in the blood of Americans. I don't know. I do have an affiliation for the underdog. I think Ukraine, especially like Western Ukraine, that's where Putin's going to invade the whole country. Like, he's not just invading the pro-Russia regions. You know, they don't stand a chance in reality, especially without NATO and other troops backing them. You have NATO, they just said 28 EU, NATO, Western countries, whatever, are going to be providing Ukraine with supplies and weapons and all of this stuff. But in reality, without the troops, without the tanks from other countries, Ukraine's just going to get run over. Like, they don't stand a chance against Russia, in my opinion. And I do a little bit have an affiliation for the underdog there. Just the fact that, Russia really probably is going to just trample them. This is a tank warfare situation. This is a ground invasion. I think it's been reported that Russia already has air superiority. Kyiv is being shelled and bombed right now and all of these things. And it's like, I do kind of feel for the people of Ukraine, especially those in the Western regions that were affected by the Holodomor. Like, they're very anti-communist, but they're also very pro-EU and they're like pro-NATO. And it's like, don't you realize these countries are kind of like going toward communism now? And Putin is kind of like, well, he's definitely not. I mean, he's like a right winger. It's almost like two right-wing like groups of leaders coming against each other because Zelensky is highly supported. Zelensky, whatever his name is, the Ukraine president, highly supported by like far right anti-communist groups and neo-Nazi groups actually in Ukraine. And Putin is actually pretty far right, and they're not communist anymore, Russia, right? So it's really interesting. But of course, the Ukrainians still have a very bad taste in their mouth from the Russians, from the Holodomor, and some of the things that the Soviet Union did to them. So you have just a very complicated situation. A lot of people don't understand the situation. This is why you have so many American normies just supporting Ukraine just because they're told to. They have no clue, right? They don't know. And then you have a lot of anti-establishment dissidents who don't support the American government, the American regime in power right now. Maybe some of them are Trump supporters, but certainly not Biden supporters, and are very skeptical of NATO too, and the EU and the UN. And they just support Putin because Putin is anti-EU and anti-UN. And it's like, yeah, but you don't understand really the situation. Anyways, I'm feeding into the lies. Okay, explain how I'm feeding into the lies. I don't support Nazis in Ukraine. These people are just unbelievable. Some of the people in the chat, are just unbelievable. Saying it's a fake war. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely staged to some degree. I mean, there's no secret this is going to happen. This is planned in many degrees, yes. I mean, Putin, you have that clip with Alex Jones saying back in October 2021, they're planning for war in February, so that's what's going to happen. It's like somebody told him that, and somehow he knew 4 months before that war would start in February. You had Putin lining up the tanks, lining up, all of the troops on the border of Ukraine. So yeah, it is sort of staged in some degree. Anyway, so let's go further into this. We got a lot more to talk about here. We got a lot more to talk about. Look at these guys with the fake guns. Wow. So there was also this story about the 13 on Snake Island, 13 Ukrainian soldiers that told a group of or a Russian warship to go fuck themselves. So I'm going to play the clip. So check it out. This is a Russian warship. I repeat, I suggest you surrender your weapons and capitulate. Otherwise, I will open fire. Do you copy? So, and then these are the supposed Ukrainians saying, this is it. Should I tell them to go fuck themselves? And he turns up the volume, and he says, Russian warship, go fuck yourself. Now, it came out after that. Okay, so first it came out that these people died because the Russian warship just killed them because they wouldn't surrender. They told the Russians to go fuck themselves. So these Ukrainians gave their lives, according to the official narrative, to, sacrifice their lives for their country. Maybe they did. But now you're having reports saying that they actually surrendered. So I don't know. All I'm saying is, in the fog of war, you can't trust any of this stuff. This is a textbook example of a potential war propaganda, right? You had in this is back in the 2000s, or was it the 90s? I think this is back in the 90s, where you had the media, American media, saying that Saddam Hussein was murdering babies in incubators, and that he was a really bad guy, but some of the lies being perpetrated like this, just outlandish and cartoon level. It's like, come on, really? So it came out later that this was a lie of the Gulf War. This was totally made up. It was propaganda. So in the 90s, this was something going around that, he was supposedly murdering babies in incubators in Iraq. Came out much, much later that this was a fake war propaganda, sort of CIA psyop on people to get them to support war in the Middle East. So these types of things go on. You just want to remember that, especially in the age of information and the age of lies and propaganda. That's kind of what we're in. And like everything's so fast now. Everything happens so fast. That's why I get a little bit skeptical with these stories. Like the purported ghost of Kyiv. This is another one. The ghost of Kyiv, right? I don't know if you heard about this, but there was supposedly like a fighter jet, a Ukrainian fighter jet that was taking out Russian fighter jet, other Russian fighter jets. And purportedly this one guy, this Ukrainian, took out 6 Russian fighter jets, and they call him the ghost of Kyiv. You're still hearing about it all over, like Twitter and all of these Reddit forums that are very pro-Ukraine, saying the ghost of Kyiv, he's fighting back, and he has taken out all of these, Russian fighter jets. And there was video going around of this guy, and he was just an ace, best of the best. Turns out it was fake. The video was fake. Now, I'm not saying the story was fake. In fact, we don't know whether the story is real. But they already had a name for the guy, the ghost of Kyiv, literally hours into the war. All of a sudden, you have the ghost of Kyiv taking out 6 Russian fighter jets. And you had this video. Oh, the video is fake, but maybe the story isn't fake. We don't know. And but now they have to admit that the video of the ghost of Kyiv going viral on social media was actually from a simulation game, a digital combat simulator. It's a free-to-play combat simulation video game. So this footage, here's the footage that was going around. And this is what I'm talking about, guys. This is why all I'm trying to say is, like, don't buy everything. This is war. Okay, do you understand that? So when a country's at war, they'll go to any lengths. And by the way, Putin's doing this too. He's the one saying that, like, the Nazis were controlling Ukraine, and that's why he's invading. He's liberating the Ukrainians from neo-Nazism. That's, at best, a huge over-exaggeration. I mean, the leader of Ukraine, the president, Zelensky, is a comedian Jew. He's a Jew. So that's a lie. So I mean, that's being spread by, Russian propagandists that he called the Ukraine government drug addicts and neo-Nazis. Dude, this is what I'm talking about. It's cartoon level. Drug addicts and neo-Nazis run Ukraine. I don't think that's true either. So that's why I'm saying, like, a lot of this, y'all gotta wake up. I got people in the chat unsubscribing because I'm not like, let's go Putin chant, like with dead seriousness, right? Yeah, I'm not seriously rooting for Putin or anybody. Like, you guys are buttheads. All right, hold on. Let's play this fake video of the fake ghost of Kyiv. Hold on.
Самолет тут. Вон он еще один самолет.
Yeah, it isn't real. Sorry, boys. Sorry, boys. All right, let's check out the chat. Yeah, we're going to talk about Swift in a minute, Theta Investor. That is a huge, huge deal. And yeah, you're going to see crypto play a huge role in World War III. And I mean, I'm not going to get too much into how this might play out. Well, I don't know. I guess probably I am, because there's just so much to talk about here. It's so complex, with so much nuance. But yeah, with crypto, that's gonna play a huge role. It already is playing a role in funding Ukraine, and then also Russia's going to be using crypto once SWIFT. Now that they've been knocked out of SWIFT, so. War propaganda via the World Economic Forum. That's the other thing. Like, the World Economic Forum definitely has stake in this somehow. And I'm not sure exactly how, because you have Putin, you have Russia being on board with the Fourth Industrial Revolution, but not fully on board with everything that the UN and the World Economic Forum is doing. So it's like, to me, what people need to understand is, and I think there was even a quote, somebody who was it that said that, I'm going to have to maybe research that the battle for Ukraine is a battle for who controls the new world order. Who was it that said that recently? Battle for Ukraine controls new world order. I thought I read something. Well, this is the National Herald reporting on it. Putin's invasion of Ukraine is a battle for a new world order. Yeah. I think that's a thing, a big question mark that we need to figure out. Obama funded these neo-Nazis. 100% correct. In fact, we're going to talk about that. How the Secretary of State in 2014, Obama's Secretary of State, literally was working with these neo-Nazi groups in Ukraine to overthrow Yanukovych, Yanukovych was honestly trying to make everybody happy. And he was a true, real leader. And so Yanukovych was working with Russia, but also trying to work with the EU. And he was ousted by these far-right neo-Nazi groups that were backed by the Obama administration openly in Ukraine. That's what people don't understand. Like, everyone, especially you have a lot of far-right people like rooting for Putin, when in reality they're probably a lot of, like, when I'm talking about far-right, way right of me, like alt-right types, rooting for Putin, when in reality they should probably be rooting for the Ukraine government, because they are still sort of working in collaboration with these far-right neo-Nazi groups in Ukraine. So a lot of people are just totally confused. And I don't know. I mean, the whole thing is very nuanced. That's what people don't understand. It's very nuanced. The neo-Nazis are fighting the Russian separatists. Yeah, kind of. But in reality, it's a lot of people. Again, it's nuance. You have so many different groups in there, both that are pro-Russian and very pro-Ukraine. So, all right, what are we looking at here? Cardboard guns. I still can't get over the cardboard guns, man. Now we got another one, too. There was a tank. You can see here. Look at this. Is this the video? Yeah, check this out. Look at this tank. So in case you're not watching the video, it's a tank in Ukraine running over. This is on the highway in Kyiv, like losing control and running over. It's debated whether or not they lost control or whether this was intentional, but ran over some guy in a car. So a tank runs over a car and presumably kills the guy inside. And you can hear the people very distressed that are filming it. It is pretty graphic. I mean, you don't see any gore or anything because it's from afar being filmed, but you can see that video. And it was reported that it was a Russian tank that did this. But then now there's sources saying that it was actually a Ukrainian tank that lost control. And it was spread that it was a Russian tank doing this purposely. And in reality, we'll probably never know. We'll never know. And the fog of war, there's so many lies. There's so many lies. And, a lot of this is, as soon as a video comes out, you're going to have so many people, trying to use it to their advantage, to propagate whatever side they're on. And, this is the fog of war, and this is what you have with this new sort of era. It's really interesting to see two modern nations fighting each other in the age of social media. And they have armies of psych warfare and propagandist personnel putting out information every second to distract, to throw people off course, to put forth a fake narrative, or sometimes it might even just be real. I mean, we don't really know. And this is a full-time effort. This is what people got to understand. This is a full-time effort of people who are highly dedicated to this. When you have nations at war, okay, if you're willing to murder thousands of people because you're at war, understandable, you're at war, right? You're going to murder thousands of people who are trying to fight you. That's just what happens in war. You don't think that same country or group of countries like NATO are willing to put out fake propaganda and lies and lie about things? If they're willing to kill people, if they're willing to hit that red button to fire off a missile strike and kill a bunch of people, you don't think they're willing to put out fake videos? Not that this video is fake, but that's the other aspect of it where maybe it is fake. Because the thing is, deep fakes and that technology is so high tech at this point, and it's so advanced that there's video. You can just look up deep fakes, and it's getting better and better every single day. There's video where you cannot tell that the person is not that person. Like there's one with a deep fake of Tom Cruise. I don't know. Should I look that up? Maybe I should show y'all. Should show y'all. Nah, because it's probably copyright. But if you look it up, it's a deep fake of Tom Cruise, and it looks and sounds exactly like him. Like you cannot tell. You cannot tell it's fake. And that was put out years ago. Imagine the technology they have for deep fakes now. Not saying this specific video is fake. I'm just saying when it comes to war, do not underestimate the lengths that each side would go to propagate a narrative to support their cause and to support other countries rallying around them. And that's something we have to keep in the back of our minds. You can't trust anything. We're entering an age of unprecedented types of warfare that we've never seen before. Deep fakes will be one of them. Guaranteed. In fact, it's almost 100% already being used. It's definitely already being used. And that's one of those things where it's like, you might hear this now and think it's crazy, but a few years from now, it's going to come out that this is exactly what was going on for a majority of the time. Just like with all the things we talked about with COVID throughout 2020 and 2021, it came out later that we were right. Remember I was talking about vaccine passports in like May of 2020? And everybody in the mainstream media, the corporate press was calling people like me at the time crazy, saying, oh, it's not going to get to that point. What are you talking about? We're not going to have vaccine passports. Next thing you know, vaccine passports. So this is the type of stuff that it's like, I'm telling you right now, the deep fake element, it's going to be very difficult to tell. I'm not saying assume everything's fake. Definitely don't. Because then you get into a reality where you're not in reality, right? I'm just saying, like, keep it in the back of your mind that maybe that's what's going on. The only thing you can trust is what's in front of you in real life. The metaverse is that this isn't the internet. We're now in the metaverse age. Okay, so just understand that. Like, I don't know, man. I'm just trying to educate people, you know? I'm just a guy on the internet. How's everyone doing in the chat? Kirk Christopher says, the dinosaurs are fake and we live under a firmament. Okay. And so, who's this? Ortabo Chow says, really? You're going to say the crushed car is fake now? Is there a clip of a woman sitting in a crushed car getting freed by Ukrainians? Go back to the video, and I want you to, like, show me the timestamp where I said that was fake, because I didn't. See, this is what I'm talking about. People they have no sense of what people are actually saying. They're, like, triggered by emotional, like reptilian brain assumptions, like reactions, just by, like, a series of words that isn't saying what they think it means, like, or isn't saying what they presume it to say. Like, you know, you bring up a certain topic, and just the fact that you bring up that topic must mean that you must be saying specifically this. No. It's like that clip with Jordan Peterson debating Kathy Newman. So what you're saying is, no, that's not what I'm saying, you weirdo. And you know, it's people like you, Ordo Abko, that just really are low IQ, I guess. That's the only way I can describe it, really. But that's okay. I mean, we need low IQ people to do things in society. But I'm just saying, like, don't get involved in, like, highbrow talks. You know, like, if we're gonna... All right, maybe we should go to the next clip here. Oh, man. It's good stuff, though. Now, also, it is worth talking about this, the other side of it, too. Putin calling the Ukraine government drug addicts and neo-Nazis. Okay, the president's a Jew, but if you want to, we should bring this up because it's partially true. It's partially true. And it's sort of like extrapolating this like partial truth into an exaggerated. Where's my link that I'm looking for? Hold on. Here we go. So back in 2014, and I talked about this a lot on my channel at the time. So those of you that have been subscribers for like 7 years will know and remember when I covered this whole Ukraine crisis, the Ukraine revolution at the beginning of the end of 2013 into 2014 with Yanukovych, who was a great leader, I think. I'm not like an expert on the geopolitical situation of Ukraine, but I know a good amount, a little more than the average person for sure. And Yanukovych, what he was trying to do, and a lot of people would call him a Russian puppet, but he wasn't really. He was kind of trying to find a middle ground. He was trying to lead his people into the best case scenario for everybody in his country by making deals with Russia and the Eurasian Union and making deals with the EU and NATO at the same time and trying to find a middle ground because he didn't want to exclude the other, because in his country, and to this day, in Ukraine, you had a lot of very pro-Russian people and a lot of very pro-EU people that hated Russia. This is why Ukraine really is destined to fail from the beginning, to be honest. This was destined to happen. There's no doubt about it. But, so there was a group of, or a few groups of neo-Nazi, like right-wing types, Svoboda and Right Sector and others, and then also just sort of pro-EU, and there was also kind of like some leftists in there too that really didn't like the fact that Yanukovych was making deals with Russia. So they fomented a revolution, long story short, and so Yanukovych obviously did everything he can to try to stay in office and push back the protesters and all of this. Now, these far-right groups were some of the main organizers of the anti-Yanukovych protests in Ukraine. And there was a recorded phone call between Victoria Nuland, who was the Secretary of State for Obama at the time. This is back in 2014, with, I think, the ambassador at the time, Pyatt. And it was a leaked audio call. And in that audio call, she goes on to say and discuss the structure of the Ukrainian cabinet once Yanukovych is ousted. So she was already sort of making plans and assuming, and also obviously working with a lot of these groups, in these right-wing neo-Nazi groups in Kyiv, in Ukraine at the time, to overthrow Yanukovych. And she openly said, like, okay, once we get our sort of cronies, our neo-Nazi groups and right-wing, like, sort of cronies in Ukraine to overthrow Yanukovych, this is how we're going to organize the Ukrainian cabinet, and this is who we're going to install after he's ousted, after we get him out of there. And this phone call was leaked. 25 days later, Yanukovych was ousted and removed from power. So the Obama administration and NATO was directly behind the Ukrainian revolution and ousting Yanukovych. And they were working with neo-Nazi groups, very, very pro, like, NATO, very anti-Russian groups. And again, a lot of these groups are anti-Russian because of what the Soviets did to them. So it's sort of understandable in some ways, but like the Holodomor happened, that was a Ukrainian thing, where the Soviets starved out half of Ukraine and killed millions of people. And so, you know, like, a lot of people in Ukraine still don't like the Russians, like, understandably, right? But some of them just obviously became Nazis. So that's who Victoria Nuland and many of these pro sort of EU, NATO groups were working with, and they ousted Yanukovych. And to this day, they have sway, a lot of sway in the parliament in Ukraine, and they work closely with Zelensky, the current president of Ukraine. So you have Putin, who says we're invading because the Ukraine government is full of drug addicts and neo-Nazis. He's kind of like placating toward that idea. But in reality, you know, it's not like the neo-Nazis really control everything. It's just like a small, like, element of the revolution that ousted, you know, Yanukovych, who is trying to work with Russia and stuff like that. So this is my understanding of it. Like, I'm not like a huge expert in this, but I'm just saying, like, you know, it's kind of like, is this a lie? Yeah, kind of, but, you know, this is his justification for invasion. He's saying he's there to liberate. He called them drug addicts. It's just so funny. It's like, they're a bunch of freaking crackheads. You know, maybe Biden was handing out crack pipes in Ukraine in the Obama administration. Maybe that's what's going on the past, like, 6 years after Yanukovych was kicked out. And that's why maybe they are drug addicts. Maybe he's right. But, I don't trust Putin either. I mean, listen, thousands of people are going to die. And this, is a very offensive invasion, and there are people in Ukraine who don't like the Russians, and they really are defending their homeland, some of them. But there are people who love Russia and Ukraine too. It's just a country bound to fail. So, it makes you wonder, this whole World War III thing, did they create Ukraine after the fall of the Berlin Wall, or like let Ukraine be a country for the eventual toppling of Ukraine to start World War III? Maybe. Order ab Chao. Who's that dude that commented earlier? He's the idiot, but it's true. Say what up in the chat. Let's say what up in the chat. Yeah, meanwhile, Biden's handing out crack pipes. That's what I'm saying. Like, who needs, SAM 2 missiles or whatever, and who needs AK-47s, cardboard AK-47s, when you can just hand out crack pipes? That's what Biden's good for. That's what America's good for now. We're good for handing out crack pipes. So that, A lot of good conversation in the chat there, but let's keep moving on here. There's a video of Trump talking to like EU leaders, and he's going on and on about how. So let me just preface this by saying, what you're now going to see is, especially in Germany and other European countries, you're going to see like. Gas prices are going to probably go through the roof here in America, but in Germany and other countries, it's going to just absolutely pale in comparison. So it's going to skyrocket even more, because right now Germany and many of those European countries are relying on gas from Russia. So it's because they actually cut a deal with Russia to receive most of their most of their gas or whatever, fuel from Russia. And a lot of people at the time when Trump was in office, he actually put sanctions on this so that Europe would be more reliant on other sources to get their energy, to get their oil and gas and fuel and stuff. And what happened? Biden got into office, lifted those sanctions, made Germany and Europe way more reliant again on Russia for oil and fuel. And now that you have that sort of reliance, it's going to be cut again. So Biden is bringing back the Trump-era sanctions, and now where is Germany going to get their fuel and oil? They're going to have to pay like way more money and get it from somewhere else, because they were getting it from Russia. And now you have all of these countries like putting sanctions on Russia, doing this, that, and the other. And like if we had done this before, then people would have become more self-reliant. These countries would have become more self-reliant, and this wouldn't be so hard-hitting. But now you're going to see, Lord knows, you're going to see not only fuel rise, but you're going to see many, many things rise. And it's already rising in the U.S., but you're going to see the prices just skyrocket, and it's going to be unbearable for some. And I don't even know how many people are going to get through this. You're going to be having brownouts and all of this. And plus, because of Greta Thunberg, how dare you, saying how dare you to the Germans and to the whole world, because of Greta Thunberg, they in Germany basically got rid of all their nuclear power plants too. So you're going to be seeing blackouts in Germany, brownouts, all of this probably, And throughout Europe, I think you're going to see a lot of problems. You're going to see a lot of problems, and in the U.S. too. And this is what you get, right? When you have super incompetent leaders, and this is all planned, of course, but also, it's like it's like they don't want to, they don't want a revolution to occur in these countries when people get pissed off at their government because they can't buy gas, they can't buy food, they can't do this, so they got to keep it tame. And I don't know if they're going to be able to do that now. So that's what's going to happen. I think you're going to see more protests and stuff, not only against COVID, but maybe that's why they lifted many of the restrictions across Europe, because they knew this was coming. And if you have super high gas prices, inflation, other high prices for resources and supplies and all this because of the sanctions you're putting on Russia, well, then now you're going to have way more of a spark to cause a revolution in your country. So that's maybe why they lifted lifted some of the mandates and restrictions in some of these countries, but not all of them. It makes you wonder. But anyway, Trump was right, of course. I can already see the comments in the chat probably. I'm not looking at the chat right now, but I can see probably, oh my gosh, you must love Trump. Why? Like, unsubscribed. You said Trump was right once. Unsubscribed. Yeah, Trump was right. Sorry. Unsubscribe then. But, it makes you wonder, like, what's really going on behind the scenes here? Like, what was going on the whole time? And I don't know. I'd rather have cheap gas than crack pipes. That's all I'm saying. I'd rather have cheap gas than crack pipes. Like, I understand you're still going to get, the vaccine mandates. You're still going to get, but at least you got cheap gas instead of crack pipes. That's all. That's all I'm saying, right? Oh, man. Like, he wanted to do all these deals with Pfizer. He did all these deals with Moderna, but at least gas was cheap. That's all. That's all I'm saying. Man. All right. So they just passed sanctions. So this is what I'm talking about, Theta Investor. This is huge. This is probably the biggest news of the weekend. Hold on one second. I got to open this window. All right. So, yeah, this is probably the biggest news of the weekend. U.S., EU, UK to sanction Russian central bank and block SWIFT. This will block, in case you don't know what SWIFT is, it's basically an international payment system. And let me see if this is catching like the headline on my, and it's not, but whatever. Here we go. I got it. Boom. Look at that. You see that? I got it. So this is the international payment system that all the countries in the world essentially use to be able to transact with each other and to be able to engage in any sort of financial transactions, right? It includes 11,000 banks. I used to work at a bank, so I was familiar with SWIFT, at least to some degree, because I did international wires in some cases. So you would have to have a SWIFT code for the bank you were sending it to, and they're going to cut off, though, all the other, a bunch of the banks in Russia in an unprecedented move. I don't think this has ever been done in history. So they're going to be cut off from the world financial markets. So I'm going to read this article, and just so you guys know what the deal is with this, because this is what could actually facilitate crypto to skyrocket, because you already have the Ukraine government, which I'll show you, and like the vice president in Ukraine, like leaving crypto wallet addresses for people to donate to their cause to help fight for their land or whatever. And now you're going to be having Russia using crypto, probably, in my opinion, that's my prediction, to settle transactions and to be able to participate in the financial system, at least to some degree, because they're going to be cut out of SWIFT. They're going to have to go to Bitcoin and crypto and other, crypto assets to be able to do this, because you can't do anything with crypto. You can't stop crypto. It's decentralized. I want to talk about that for a second, but let's read this. The United States, European Union, and the United Kingdom on Saturday agreed to put in place crippling sanctions on the Russian financial sector, including a block on its access to the global financial system, and for the first time, restrictions on its central bank in retaliation for the invasion of Ukraine. The measures were announced jointly as part of a new round of financial sanctions meant to hold to account and collectively ensure that this war is a strategic failure for the Russian president. The central bank restrictions target the more than $600 billion in reserves that the Kremlin has at its disposal, meant to limit Russia's ability to support the ruble amid tightening Western sanctions. Cumulatively, I cannot speak today. The steps announced by the West since Russia began the invasion would potentially amount to some of the toughest sanctions on any country in modern history. And if fully carried out as planned, would severely damage the Russian economy and markedly strain its ability to import and export goods. Now, this is where I get scared as well. Not trying to promote the fear porn, boys, but let me tell you. You hear the story about a cornered rat. When you corner a rat, it's going to lash out because it has nothing else to do to survive, right? It's just going to fight. And when you corner a bear, oof. When you corner a bear, who knows what it's going to do, right? This could severely cripple Russia. Obviously, Putin really cares about Russia and the Russian people. That's one of his good qualities, I'd say. So if this is going to dramatically affect the average person in Russia and just them as a country, and their economy, and constrain their ability to export and import goods and start starving them out, I don't know. Putin, being the guy he is, could escalate this and start like using tactical nukes or something, or cyber attacks on the U.S. You know, this is something that I think is going to happen. I do think you are going to see a World War III, but I don't necessarily think it's gonna be like the end of the world. But I think you've kind of already had World War III going on in many ways. You know, the Colonial Pipeline being attacked. I think that was like a beta test run. So you're going to have cyber attacks and stuff, I think. You had Klaus Schwab a year or two ago, head of the World Economic Forum, talking about how you think the pandemic of COVID is bad. Wait until there's a cyber attack. Wait until the electricity goes out. That's when you'll see real widespread death and destruction and stuff like that. You know, people being kept alive in the hospital. I know they have generators and stuff, but if it's an EMP or a cyber attack, you know, all of these things where we rely so dramatically on the power grid, not just the internet, but the power grid. And now that a lot of these things, like the industrial energy producing, generators and power sources and alternators and all these things are connected to the internet in so many ways. If these are susceptible to cyber attack or an EMP attack, and then you don't, like, we're back to the Stone Age in certain areas of the world, or the first world, I should say. You know, like in the U.S., Canada, where nobody knows how to get by more than a week in situations like that. You ain't going to have anybody to come. You ain't going to have National Grid come fixing your power lines like they would in a hurricane or a storm to turn the power back on within 7 days. No. Back to the Stone Age for 6 months or more. People will die. There'll be riots. There'll be violence. It will be so destructive after the first couple of weeks. Starvation, death. I mean, it will be bad. I mean, the average person has no clue what to do in that situation. Now, people in rural areas, guys like me, a lot of people like you out there, we could probably figure it out because we understand this is a real possibility and are at least to some degree prepared for this situation. I'm not like fully prepared. You know, I'm not like I got the bomb shelter and all that. No. But, you know, I got what I got. You know, I got my AK, I got my AR, I got my storable foods, I got. You know, I actually don't have a generator because I live in an apartment, but I have friends with generators and all that, you know. And even those could be taken out if it's an EMP, theoretically, because I think, you know, that actually takes out anything with a power circuit. I don't know. But a lot of things would be susceptible to it. Like cars, too. You know, EMPs, I think, take out cars now because they're so reliant upon, like, electrical circuit boards and stuff, to my understanding. So, you know, these types of things are going to be used in World War III. And, you know, eliminating Russia from SWIFT and blocking them from SWIFT is a huge escalation, which could lead to this. You got to remember, wars happen. They don't happen like overnight, although this invasion of Ukraine kind of did. But how it plays out with a World War III type scenario, it isn't going to be like, oh, overnight, all of a sudden Russia nukes Poland and then we get involved and then all that. No. That's not how it plays out quite like that. But it does sort of, over the course of a couple years, highly escalate. So that's what you saw with World War II. You know, Germany invaded Poland. And then you had, other countries start intervening, and then a cascaded series of events. One thing led to another, and all of a sudden it's World War. So, but that happened over the course of a couple of years, right? So, I don't know. It doesn't look good. This is an escalation. I don't know. Russia shouldn't have invaded. I think they're in the end. I think this is going to escalate, and it's going to lead to World War III, and the Russian people are going to hurt quite a bit, and so is everybody in the world. I think you could see bioweapons used. I think you could see, radio frequency technology, sort of all kinds of things we've never seen before in war. Deep fakes for psychological warfare. I think you could see even like 5G being hacked and like weird things like being put out on, you know, the 5G. And of course, World Economic Forum is just sitting at the top. The globalists, so to speak, are sitting at the top, and they organize the whole thing. But at the same time, you got to understand there's people below them that are, you know, the sort of pawns, but they're all being kind of manipulating. You know, it's not like everybody's on board. So, but they're being manipulated. So out of the chaos of World War III, you have a situation sort of like Bretton Woods after World War II, where they can create a new world order, a great reset. I feel like COVID kind of failed a little bit. Not really, because it did put forth a lot of things that you have now that were part of the plan for Agenda 2030. It especially stayed intact in many Western countries like Canada and Australia. But now with World War III, you're going to see like a whole... I mean, it's impossible to predict exactly, but there's a good chance you're going to see weapons that have never been used before. And that's one of the characteristics for a World War III type scenario, or a World War type scenario. Weapons that have never been used before in history are used. So nukes were used, thank God. Well, I should say thank God, but I mean, like, nukes have been used before. So I don't know if they're going to be used again. I don't think they have to go to the nuke thing, because that really is mutually assured destruction. There's people in the chat I can already see. I can already know. I don't even have to look. I already know there's going to be people in the chat saying nukes are fake, because this is the internet and that's what happens. Right? Press 1 in the chat if you think nukes are fake. I don't, for the record, but I don't know. You know, I'm not like a scientist, so what do I know? Oh, man. I'm waiting for all the ones. It's going to be funny. Yeah, I probably should store up on ammo. Ammo is probably going to go up. Ammo, guns, all of this. Yeah, World War Theta Investor. Yeah, good point. World War III is happening on social media and crypto. Crypto is going to play a huge role. Absolutely. It already is. All right, so check this out, right? Hold up. Check this out. You have the official Twitter account of Ukraine. This is at Ukraine. Stand with the people of Ukraine, now accepting cryptocurrency donations, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and USDT. And it lists the Bitcoin and Ethereum addresses. So, I mean, for the record, I don't think using crypto to finance World War III is a great idea. Just saying. Like, personally, I'm not donating to Ukraine or Russia or anyone. I'll donate to help the Canadian truckers. That ain't World War III, right? But I'm not donating to the country of Ukraine to fight World War III. I'm sorry. I'm somewhat rooting for Ukraine because they're the underdogs, like I said. But I got to say, I'm not really rooting for anybody. I do like the underdog story because I think Russia's going to obviously overtake Ukraine, in my opinion. So, but anyway, tangent. But yeah, this is the official Ukraine Twitter account saying you could help finance World War III. Like, you could help finance the war here. Oh, really? Really? And people are definitely donating. And then you have Mikhailo Fedorov. Hope I'm saying that correctly. Vice Prime Minister of Ukraine. Also saying something similar on his official Twitter account. Stand with the people of Ukraine, now accepting cryptocurrency donations, Ethereum, Bitcoin, Tether, and the addresses are there. I wonder if they're the same addresses as what they are. They're the same addresses as the official Ukraine Twitter account. So, and like, you know, I just crypto always get skeptical of donating to like addresses that say donate here. I mean, it could, maybe somebody hacked Mikhailo's Twitter account here, you know. This could be Russia. Who knows, you know? That's why it's kind of like, but for the most part, I don't think that's the case. I think this was really Ukraine, that the vice prime minister, and these are real addresses that presumably, I guess, they'll use to help finance the war. I don't know. But it's really funny because with the crypto situation, again, I've talked about this in other like videos. People have no clue what they're talking about when it comes to crypto. Most people, and that is independent of whether or not somebody is actually like awake to sort of the Great Reset, like these things going on and the lies in the corporate press and all this. A lot of people who are awake to that stuff are also totally ignorant of crypto too. So it has nothing to do with whether or not somebody's like just, you know, an average sort of normie or not. A lot of people just don't understand crypto at all. So, you know, I talked about this in a recent video where I had a comment from somebody in a recent video where they were like, the whole point of crypto is so the government can come in and stop it. Don't you know that? I mean, it's just, I don't even know if I should I don't even know if I should even grace that with a refute. You know, I don't even know if I should, you know, try to debate like how dumb and low IQ that is. It's just totally ignorant. So crypto is obviously decentralized. Now, there are like platforms like Coinbase and Binance and these are exchanges, right? That you can have a crypto wallet, and that can be interfered with government and with corporations like the Coinbase. But there are other types of crypto wallets. These are the main, like this is the main point of crypto, where you have your own private keys to the wallet, and there is no sort of intermediary like a Coinbase, like a Binance, you know, company that is in control of your crypto, or I should say can prevent access to the crypto. So it's kind of like, you know, it's almost like if you have a safe and you have the code to the safe, only you have access to the safe. I mean, that, you know, so that is like what a real private wallet is, and no government could come in and stop it. They could send guys with guns to your door and demand you give them the private keys per court order. Theoretically, yeah, sure, but they can do the same thing with your safe or with anything, you know, in your basement, you know. So the of course, is always like, oh, well, the government could always just put, send the cops with guns to your door and demand your private keys. You could just not give it to them as well. But that's what they would need to do to have access to your crypto wallet, or to be able to stop. Well, I don't even know if I can stop it, but once you send a transaction, it just goes through because it's decentralized, right? So, let me see here. Anyways, we had with the Canadian trucker pro freedom convoy, the Ontario Superior Court of Justice sent an injunction to one of the companies that created the software for a private wallet for Bitcoin, right? So this is like a company that created the software for the private wallet. So like an interface with the private wallet for Bitcoin, which basically means they have no access, they have no information about the person that has the wallet, nothing like that. They just create, it's like if this Shure microphone, they can't stop me from using their microphone. I bought the microphone. I have it. They don't have a record of who I am, and, they don't have, access to the microphone. Presumably, right? They don't have access to the microphone to be able to, tweak it or something like that. This is what the same situation is with private wallets and the software built for them, Like Ledger, right? Like Ledger. Ledger can't come in and just stop a transaction into one of your private wallets just because you have a Ledger wallet, use Ledger software for your private wallet, for your keys or whatever. It makes no sense, right? So the company that owned these wallets basically wrote a letter to the Canadian government, the court in Ontario, saying we can't freeze our customers' wallets. We don't even have their information. This, you don't know how crypto works. This is it. It's the politicians in the courts, they're just so ignorant. They're just we'll just email the company that created the software for the wallet, and we'll just tell them to freeze the users' assets for the Freedom Convoy in their Bitcoin wallet. So they were they wrote them. They're like, what? We can't do that. You don't know how this works. We literally don't have the ability to do that. It's designed that way. So I'm not going to read the whole letter. Maybe I'll read the letter. Dear the Ontario Superior Court of Justice, Nunchuck is a self-custodial, collaborative, multi-sig Bitcoin wallet. We are a software provider, not a custodial financial intermediary. Our software is free to use. It allows people to eliminate single points of failure and store Bitcoin in the safest way possible while preserving privacy. We do not collect any user identification information beyond email addresses. We also do not hold any keys. Therefore, we cannot freeze our users' assets. We cannot prevent them from being moved. We do not have knowledge of the existence, nature, value, location at all of our users' assets, and this is by design. Please look up how self-custody and private keys work. When the Canadian dollar becomes worthless, we will be here to serve you too. Sincerely, the Nunchuck team. So it was kind of like a big FU to the Ontario court. Not only do you guys not know what you're talking about, but you'll probably be calling us one day, because that dollar of yours, that Canadian dollar, that US dollar, all of that will be worthless one day. And I think, this is the future of World War III, but this is also the future of what comes after World War III. This is the future of money in general. I mean, it just is. It's for better and for worse. And I've talked about crypto a million times, but you really have to understand it to understand how it can be used for good and how it can be used for bad. So with Russia being thrown out of SWIFT, this is going to play a role for them. They are going to guaranteed 100% bypass these sanctions with crypto, because no government can they can say that they put a sanction on the Bitcoin wallet, private wallets for Russia, for Putin, if they create wallets to do transactions, they can say, oh, we're putting a sanction on it. But they can't actually do anything from them using the wallets and sending and receiving transactions in the wallets. They can just say, it's like, oh, we just say there's sanctions on the crypto wallets you create, Putin. This is all theoretically going to happen in the future, I think. And then Putin's just going to be like, okay, thanks, okay. And then just continue using the Bitcoin, right? Using the crypto, because there's nothing they can actually do. And it makes you wonder, too, Russia plays a huge role in Bitcoin mining, and it's been said that they hold a lot of Bitcoin and stuff, too. So maybe they saw this coming down the road years ago, because they've been involved, with crypto in a lot of different ways throughout the years. A lot of Bitcoin mining, from what I understand, happens in Russia. So even then, I mean, it's just, I think they saw this coming. I think they saw all this coming. I think they already saw this happening. I think they're going to soon say, you want to cut us out of SWIFT? Okay, we're starting to use crypto. The prices will probably skyrocket. Although you might see, that's the thing, you might see some sort of propaganda campaign against crypto now from NATO sources and, sort of the pro-Ukraine, like U.S.-backed global empire sort of machine. And I don't know if that's going to work. It might temporarily, and then, it'll dip. You'll have FUD, and you'll see Bitcoin dip and all that. But I do think this is kind of the future for a lot of this stuff in many different ways. You'll have people financing groups and countries involved in like this World War III situation to their liking. And I think you're going to see a lot of different things play out. I think you're going to see revolutions as well, and then people will finance those, and no government will be able to stop it. This is a huge aspect of what you're going to see in the future, right? That and war propaganda, of course, deep fakes, all that weird stuff. Who knows, right? You won't even be able to tell all that though. That's why you can't really pay too much attention to it. Here's how Putin, Russia, etc. could use Bitcoin crypto to bypass sanctions. The U.S. and Europe have imposed financial sanctions on Russia, including Putin, but Moscow could use crypto to circumvent them. The U.S., blah, 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 already basically said that. Now many wonder whether Vladimir Putin's country could use cryptocurrencies to circumvent this exclusion from the classic global financial system. This would be an unprecedented situation for this young industry. Although dissidents, protest movements, and populations in countries at war or in economic turmoil with regularly devalued currencies have turned to crypto, a state that is a great power has really never used crypto on a large scale. This is an uncharted territory, says Chris Klein, Chief Operating Officer and co-founder of crypto investment firm Bitcoin ARRR. Just a few weeks ago, you had two different messages coming out of Russia. One was from the central bank that was anti-crypto and Bitcoin, and the other was legislation from the parliament saying that actually crypto might serve a purpose. Oh. And then this other guy goes on to say, this other expert, so to speak, well, that is said to me, well, what am I reading? Well, that said to me was politically. Putin was not on board with them banning crypto because, in fact, he wanted crypto to be part of Russia's mainstream finance, or at least an alternative to mainstream finance. Probably a smart move. Countries that, let me tell you something, countries that adopt crypto and embrace it will thrive, especially if they do it sooner than other countries. They'll see huge gains. They'll see gains, and benefits, and I think it will in many ways enrich their population. But the trouble with crypto is, the governments won't have control of it, and they don't like that. So, anyways, let's check out the chat. Any super chats? I don't think I see any super chats, but that's all right. I'd appreciate it, but Bitcoin's already banned in China. What's it say? Hold on. I just lost the chat. I lost the chat. Sorry, buddy. Yeah, all I heard was, oh, here we go. Bitcoin's already banned in China. That's just a smokescreen. Yeah, no, Bitcoin is banned in China, but they can't. It's not banned. Like, it's banned like just because they say it's banned, but people in China can still use it. There's nothing stopping them. That's like saying, I don't know, biting your fingernails in private is banned in China. Okay, but people can still bite their fingernails in private. You know, it doesn't have any real effect. It does have an effect in some regard. Like, you can't register theoretically as like a mining company in China, I guess. But there is an argument to be made that they're just doing that for now in China, to eventually embrace it. I've heard that somewhere. I forget. I actually heard that recently, because they want to sort of build up the infrastructure for mining and stuff like that, and be able to control it. And then once that is all in place, they're going to sort of open up the floodgates for crypto. That's what I've heard. I don't know, though. I mean, what do I know, right? Let me see here. 99% of crypto is all central bank controlled shitcoins to keep people from adopting the original Bitcoin protocol, BSV. BSV, huh? I mean, there's so many different versions of Bitcoin now. You have BSV, you have Bitcoin Cash. I never looked into BSV much. The fake Bitcoin. I don't know. You don't know what you're talking about, because so Bitcoin, like a lot of it was forked, right? So you had certain forks, and I think BSV is one of the forks, right? Just like Ethereum Classic and Ethereum, but you know, this idea that one's like, I mean, they're both decentralized from what I understand. The protocol is just different because of the block size. I think they agreed on something with the block size. I don't know exactly the history of the BSV and like original Bitcoin split hard fork, and explain it to me, because I mean that's not something I know a lot about. I know a lot about hard forks and stuff and like how that works, but I don't know about the BSV thing. This is all an illusion about cryptocurrency because the elites will take over it. That's the whole thing about killing the dollar and creating a world digital economy. Yeah, but they want a new. So they're already talking about how they want a CDBC. So that's a central bank digital currency. And that is just like what China has with the central bank digital yuan. And that's what they want to put in place of the US dollar, not Bitcoin. So they're already, you know, that yes, they're making plans to create a digital asset similar to crypto, but highly centralized and controlled. It's called the CBDC. This is what all the central banks of the governments of the world are talking about now. There's papers written on it. And that is going to be highly controlled. And yes, like I said, blockchain technology and crypto, the technology itself is going to be used to bring about the global, an attempted global world currency, but it will be centrally controlled, not decentralized. They have no interest in creating a decentralized global world currency. Why would they want to do that? Something they can't control? You can look at the Bitcoin protocol and other cryptos protocol, and you can look at all the wallets publicly and see that they are decentralized, you know, where these transactions are being confirmed and mined. But with the CBDCs, what they're introducing, like FedCoin, the US talking about that, and all these other countries talking about that, that is going to be 100% controlled. You're going to have expiration dates on your currency, so you are encouraged to spend it. You're going to be able, they're going to be able to basically turn you off at their own whim if you are a political dissident, or if, you know, maybe you bought too many donuts that week and you had your donut limit. You know, the government will come in with their CBDC centralized wallets that you are using, and they'll just shut you off. No more donuts. Oh, you can buy some of the iceberg lettuce, but you can't buy any more donuts, man. Which it's probably not the worst thing. If in that one example, it's not the worst thing, but in general, it's going to be to cut off dissidents, and put an expiration date on the currency and control you. Yeah. But Bitcoin in and of itself, I don't know. Thanks, Miss Maskless. Thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you. Back to the gold standard. Yeah, I like the gold standard. There's a few problems with it, though. That was actually manipulated to a large degree, too, the gold standard. I forget. I wish I remember, because I read something on... I remember reading a lot about the gold standard like a few months back, and I'm trying to remember. There was a major downfall of it, that it was like... that it also could be highly manipulated, but I forget what that fact is right now on the top of my... Well, I mean, just look up like some of the downfalls of it. But I guess nothing's perfect. It's definitely better than what we have now. I mean, what we have now is just... It's cartoon level. I mean, I don't even know. Just print money out of thin air and just whatever, and by the way, don't even like actually print money. Just create numbers on a screen and loan it out to people and have a debt-based monetary system, and just do that at whim. And then also do it as a political tool. So all of these things are just like, it's bound to collapse. The US dollar, for the record, have like zero money in US dollars. Not zero. I mean, I have enough to pay the bills and all that. But like any like money I've saved up, it's all in gold, silver, and crypto. And bullets, right? And storable foods. 100%. Like all of it. And then like I would also, depending on how much money you have, obviously augment that with, the main thing, the best thing to have is land and a way to protect and secure the land. I mean, that's the number one thing. Like in the U.S., the best investment you can have is, buying, I don't know, an acre or 10 acres or however much land you can afford in like a rural area, and having a good setup, with a well and a good perimeter and, good neighbors and a way to defend your land in a community. I mean, that is the best investment to have, period, in my opinion, right? With a nice house, right? But, I don't have that much money. I have money in crypto, and I have money in gold and silver. And by the way, a lot of the gold and silver I bought when it was like... That's the other thing, gold and silver. I mean, if you look at it from an investment standpoint, gold and silver are terrible investments, really. I mean, for the past 10 years, they have been. I first bought my silver in like 2012, or like it was actually 2010 or something. I forget what year. It was around then, like 10 years ago. And silver was at like $28 an ounce, and now it's basically the same price. If I had bought Bitcoin or something else during that time, I would be filthy rich. So, I don't know. Like, gold and silver is a great way to... I think they're definitely manipulating it. I definitely think that they are... Like, there are powers that be in these industries of precious metals that are... And with the banks and the central bankers, they're definitely... manipulating the price of gold and silver. I mean, it just seems outrageous to me, especially when we're on the verge of World War III. Typically, gold and silver should be skyrocketing. It doesn't make any sense. But, yeah, just in terms of, like, I think it's sort of a boomer take. I love gold and silver. I have a lot of it, but I also think it's a boomer take to just say, let's just go to gold and silver, like the good old days, and just... Like, this is 2022, man. Like, we can pretend like the world doesn't exist and start using gold and silver and bartering, but I don't think that's really going to get us anywhere, you know? Maybe I'm wrong. But I have a lot of gold and silver, more silver, because I'm kind of broke. More silver than gold, but, and I do support it. I'm just not like... I don't think it's like the solution to all our problems or anything. You know, I just think it's a good thing to have in your portfolio of like safe, good investments. Thank you so much, Exploded Views. Good research. Thanks, buddy. I really appreciate it. Yep, China already came out with their CBDC. Yeah, it's all about hedging, right, Scott? Just a hedge. It's about a hedging against inflation. Let me tell you, man. You really want a good investment? Just buy a whole bunch of oil and just store it in a big giant garage. Of course, it kind of goes bad after a year, I think, with the ethanol in it. But let me tell you, that would be... Plus, if a match goes off, you're screwed. You'd be looking like Kyiv, right? But become a commodities Chad, dude. You really want to get rich? Become a commodities Chad. That's what you got to do. Get a whole bunch of corn and wheat and, cattle and oil and store it in a giant shed. And maybe just get a whole bunch of, lithium and just store it underground. That's what you got to do, man. I don't know, maybe... Am I allowed to say that? Like, I'm joking, YouTube. Just so you know, like YouTube would probably say like I'm like causing harm to people by saying that as a joke. I don't know. I get so sketched out by YouTube nowadays. Let me see this. Drug addicts and neo-Nazis. I still can't get over it, man. There's a bunch of crackheads over there running Ukraine. That's why we're invading. This guy, Putin, man. Let's see. Talking about buying guns in there. That's a good investment. Let me tell you, guns are a great investment. I love guns, I gotta find a good range around here though to like shoot them because I moved to Rhode Island and now I used to go to this range. I don't like indoor ranges very much. I'm trying to find an outdoor range. Rhode Island sucks. There's like literally no outdoor range, which kind of pisses me off. So I think I might just have to man up and start going to an indoor one because I used to go to an indoor one in Massachusetts and they're just annoying because of all like the lead in the air and stuff like that, and it's just I hate it. It's loud. It's like I'd rather go outdoors. It's nice, especially on a nice day. But that's just me. Of course, I think we all feel that way, right? Wouldn't you rather always just go to an outdoor range if it's nice out, especially? Why wouldn't you, right? Copper. Rhea Timmerman said copper is a good investment. All electrical energy depends on copper. I agree. I actually have a copper coin, like an ounce of copper. I mean, I think an ounce of copper, I don't even know. It's not a lot of money, I don't think. I don't know. You tell me. I don't know the price of it, but I have a couple copper coins, ounce. I have like an ounce of copper. That's about it. I should get more though, because it's cheap. And it really is. You're right. There's a huge tangible usability to it. All electrical energy depends on copper. Yeah, copper is the most conductive metal, I think, right? Or one of them. And obviously that's what all wires are made out of. Yeah, copper is just a phenomenal metal. I agree. Because it has a practicality to it, right? I mean, electricity is so valuable. It goes without saying, right? So, and you need copper. I'm not an expert on this. I don't know if there's anything else you could use, but copper is the best way to conduct the electricity. Yeah, it's fantastic. I agree. I should get more copper. In fact, I think I will. Thanks for that comment. It's just about storing it, but I don't know. Figure it out. Get like a big giant bar of copper, just bars of copper. How much is copper? Someone tell me. How much is copper? I'm genuinely interested. Hey, Scott says I have pounds of copper. That's so awesome. That is so based. I'm about to get some copper. That's what I'm about to do. Like, I'm not even kidding. You're making me want to get more copper. Cause I have like way more silver. I have way more silver than copper. Way more. I need to have a level. I'm very OCD about, I got to have a good proportion of all the precious metals. I got to have like a little bit of gold, a lot of silver, and then a lot more copper. You always got to like even it out in that way because it's more per ounce as you go less and less, amount. A pound of copper is like $2. No, is it really? Is it? I don't know. I'm not like 1 ounce of gold is equal to 430 pounds of copper. It really is that cheap. I'm about to get a whole bunch of copper. Yeah. I'm about to go take my like little amount of gold I have and just go buy a whole shit ton of copper. Yeah, Power goes out. Metals are useless except brass and lead. Yeah. Kind of. Yeah. Anyways, guys, that was a fun show. I'll try to continue covering this Ukraine situation. Did a lot of crazy videos coming out, and some of them are just normal videos. Others seem like maybe propaganda, but it's really interesting. You're gonna have it from both sides, both from Putin and both from like the NATO-backed Ukrainian people. In conclusion, though, I don't support either side, but I gotta say, I do like the story of the underdog and the story of the people defending their homelands. And I do understand that the Ukrainian people that were affected by the Holodomor and then other things with the Soviet Union, I understand why they hate Russia, and I understand why they'd want to fight. So in a way, I kind of have a little bit more of a feeling like I'm kind of rooting for them a little bit, but I hate NATO, and I hate the people that are backing the Ukraine government. When it comes to that or Putin, I'd probably rather have Putin. But when it comes to the average person in there in Ukraine, sort of defending their land, and they hate communism and they just hate the Russians, like, I kind of like that. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think, though. Drop a comment below. I'm out of here. Also, if you want to follow me on Twitter and Gab, I'll leave links in the description below. Also, if you want to contribute to the channel, I have a Patreon. I also have crypto links, too, if you want to contribute anything with crypto. I have Bitcoin, Ethereum, stuff like that. I actually got to update those because I want to put maybe Cardano in there, too. But anyways, let me know what you think. Drop a comment below. Like, share, and subscribe. It's been Press. Peace out, guys.